When the doctors told me I needed emergency open heart surgery within 48 hours, I called my wife from the hospital bed, barely able to speak. She sighed loudly and said, "It's not like you're actually dying, it's just a heart attack, everyone gets them these days. Plus, I already paid for this cruise with the girls and I'm not missing it for your drama." I could hear her friends laughing in the background as she added, "You'll be fine, just tell the nurses to call me if you actually flatline." I looked at the heart monitor beeping frantically and said quietly, "Thanks for letting me know exactly who you are." She hung up on me. What her own daughter posted next on social media while she was sipping margaritas on that cruise ship made her want to jump overboard. Now she's blowing up my phone from international waters, screaming, "What did you tell her?" But it's too late. 3 days ago, I was a devoted husband of 15 years. Today, I'm something else entirely. Let me start from the beginning. My name is David, and I'm 47 years old. I work in accounting for a mid-sized logistics company, nothing glamorous, but it pays well enough to support my wife Karen's lifestyle and her daughter Madison's college tuition. Madison isn't biologically mine, but I've raised her since she was 8. Her biological father disappeared the moment Karen told him she was pregnant, so I stepped up. I thought that meant something. For the past 6 months, I'd been having chest pains. Not the dramatic, clutch your chest and fall down kind you see in movies. Just a persistent tightness, like someone was gradually turning a screw in my sternum. I mentioned it to Karen a few times. "You're probably just stressed about the Henderson account," she'd say, not looking up from her phone. "Take some Advil." The pains got worse. I started getting winded walking up the stairs. My left arm would tingle randomly. I knew these were warning signs. My father died of a heart attack at 52. But every time I brought it up, Karen had the same response. "You're being dramatic. You're not even 50 yet." She was planning this cruise with her college friends, the Golden Girls as they called themselves. 4 middle-aged women reliving their sorority days for a week in the Caribbean. She'd been talking about it for months, buying new outfits, getting her nails done, the whole production. The cruise cost $3,200. I paid for it without complaint, like I paid for everything else. Tuesday morning, I woke up feeling like an elephant was sitting on my chest. The pain radiated down my left arm like lightning. I could barely breathe. Karen was in the bathroom, applying her 3rd layer of mascara for her pre-cruise brunch with the girls. "Karen," I managed to wheeze. "Something's wrong. Really wrong." She rolled her eyes in the mirror. "David, I don't have time for this today. The girls are expecting me in an hour." I tried to stand up and nearly collapsed. The room spun like a carnival ride. I think I'm having a heart attack." "Oh, for crying out loud." She capped her mascara with more force than necessary. "You're not having a heart attack. You're having anxiety because I'm leaving tomorrow. It's textbook abandonment issues." I drove myself to the emergency room. Let that sink in. I drove myself to the ER while having what turned out to be a massive heart attack because my wife was too busy getting ready for brunch to take me seriously. The ER doctor took one look at my EKG and started barking orders. Within minutes, I was surrounded by nurses, hooked up to monitors, getting in 4 shoved in my arm. "Mr. Peterson, you're having what we call a STEMI, an ST elevation myocardial infarction. In layman's terms, you're having a major heart attack. We need to get you into surgery immediately." The cardiologist, Dr. Martinez, explained that I had what they call a widowmaker, a 95% blockage in my left anterior descending artery. The artery that supplies blood to the front wall of your heart. The one that kills you if it gets completely blocked. We're going to do an emergency angioplasty to open that artery, but given the extent of the blockage and the damage we're seeing, you'll likely need open heart surgery within the next 48 hours. We're talking about a triple bypass, possibly quadruple. The words hit me like a physical blow. Triple bypass. Open heart surgery. The kind of thing that could kill you on the table. "I need to call my wife," I whispered. Dr. Martinez nodded sympathetically. "Of course. But I need you to understand, this is extremely serious. We're going to take excellent care of you, but I want your family to understand the gravity of the situation." My hands shook as I dialed Karen's number. She answered on the 4th ring, and I could hear laughter and clinking glasses in the background. "What is it, David?" "I'm at brunch." "Karen," I could barely get the words out. "I'm in the hospital. I had a heart attack. A bad one." Silence. Then she sighed. Actually sighed. "It's not like you're actually dying, David. It's just a heart attack. Everyone gets them these days. My uncle had 3 of them and he's fine." I stared at the heart monitor beeping frantically beside my bed. "Karen, They're saying I need open heart surgery. Within 48 hours. This is serious. Plus, I already paid for this cruise with the girls and I'm not missing it for your drama. Drama? She called my heart attack drama. I could hear her friends in the background. Susan's nasal voice, tell him to stop being such a baby. Cackling laughter. Karen, please. I'm scared. I need you here. You'll be fine, David. You're being overly dramatic like always. Just tell the nurses to call me if you actually flatline, okay? But honestly, the ship doesn't even have good cell service, so they probably won't be able to reach me anyway. More laughter from her friends. They were treating my potential death like a punchline. I looked at the heart monitor, watched the erratic spikes that represented my damaged heart struggling to keep me alive. Something cold and final settled in my chest, and it wasn't the heart attack. Thanks for letting me know exactly who you are, Karen. She hung up on me. I stared at the phone for a long time after that. Nurses came and went, checking my vitals, adjusting my medications. Dr. Martinez stopped by to discuss the surgical plan. Through it all, I kept replaying that conversation. Everyone gets them these days. Your drama. Tell the nurses to call me if you actually flatline. The laughter in the background. That night, as I lay in the cardiac ICU listening to the steady beep of my heart monitor, something crystallized in my mind. This wasn't the first time Karen had dismissed my medical concerns. This wasn't the first time she'd prioritized her social life over my well-being. I started thinking about the last 15 years. Really thinking. When I had food poisoning so severe I was vomiting every 20 minutes, she went to her book club because she couldn't miss the discussion on this month's selection. When I broke my ankle in 3 places falling off a ladder while cleaning our gutters, she dropped me off at the ER and went shopping because these things take forever and I had appointments. When I had that kidney stone that felt like someone was stabbing me with a hot knife, she told me to walk it off and went to get her hair done. I'd been so focused on being the good husband, the good stepfather, the good provider, that I'd never stopped to ask, what exactly was I getting in return? The answer, lying there in that hospital bed, was painfully clear. Nothing. I was getting nothing. The next morning, Madison showed up. My stepdaughter, now 23 and in her final semester of nursing school. She took one look at me hooked up to all those machines and burst into tears. Dad, why didn't you call me sooner? Dad. She'd been calling me Dad since she was 12, and it never failed to warm my heart. Even now, especially now. I didn't want to worry you during finals week. She pulled a chair up to my bed and took my hand. Mom said it was just a minor thing. That you were being dramatic. I felt something crack inside my chest, and it wasn't related to the heart attack. Madison, sweetheart, they're operating tomorrow. Open heart surgery. It's not minor. Her face went white. What? But Mom said. She said it was basically like getting a tooth pulled. She said you'd be home by Friday. Your mother is on a cruise ship right now. Madison stared at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. She's what? She left this morning for a week-long cruise with her college friends. I watched Madison process this information. Watched her face go through confusion, disbelief, and finally, something I'd never seen in her eyes before when looking at her mother. Disgust. She left you? You're having open heart surgery and she left you for a cruise? I squeezed her hand. It's okay, honey. You're here now. But Madison was shaking her head, tears streaming down her face. It's not okay, Dad. Nothing about this is okay. They wheeled me into surgery at 6 a.m. the next morning. Madison was there, holding my hand until they made her let go. I love you, Dad. I love you too, kiddo. The last thing I saw before the anesthesia took hold was Madison's face, determined and fierce. She looked like she was plotting something. The surgery took 7 hours. Quadruple bypass, as it turned out. Dr. Martinez said later that they'd never seen arteries that blocked in someone my age who wasn't a heavy smoker or diabetic. Apparently, chronic stress can do that to your heart. Who knew? I woke up in the ICU with tubes down my throat and wires coming out of my chest. Madison was there, along with my brother Tom and his wife Lisa. They'd driven down from Portland the moment Madison called them. Hey there, Superman, Tom said, his voice thick with emotion. You scared the hell out of us. Lisa was crying openly. We came as soon as we heard. Where's Karen? Madison's expression darkened. Still on her cruise. I watched Tom and Lisa exchange a look that spoke volumes. They'd never liked Karen much, but they'd kept their opinions to themselves out of respect for me. Apparently, that consideration was now officially over. Over the next few days, as I slowly recovered in the cardiac ICU, Madison barely left my side. She was supposed to be taking her final exams, but she'd gotten extensions from all her professors when she explained the situation. Dad's having open heart surgery and my mother abandoned him for a cruise apparently carried some weight in academic circles. Madison had always been active on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. She had a decent following too, partly because she was gorgeous, she got Karen's looks, thankfully, and partly because she was genuinely funny and smart. Her nursing school posts had gained her a following among other nursing students and healthcare workers. I knew she was posting updates about my recovery because the nurses kept mentioning it. Your daughter's posts about heart attack warning signs probably saved 3 lives yesterday, one told me. We had 3 men come in after their wives saw her Instagram story and recognized the symptoms. But I didn't see the post that changed everything until later. I was sleeping when Madison's phone started ringing on Thursday night. Then it rang again. And again. Finally, she stepped outside to answer it. When she came back in, her face was pale but her eyes were bright with something that looked like satisfaction. "Dad, I need to show you something. But first, I want you to know that I love you and I'm proud to be your daughter." She handed me her phone, opened to her Instagram account. The post had been up for 3 hours and already had over 50,000 likes and 8,000 comments. The image was a photo of me in the hospital bed, clearly taken while I was sleeping. I was pale and drawn, with tubes and wires everywhere, but Madison had somehow made it look artistic rather than disturbing. The caption, however, was pure fire. "This is my dad. 3 days ago, he had a massive heart attack, the kind doctors call a widowmaker because it kills you. He drove himself to the hospital because the woman he's been married to for 15 years was too busy getting ready for brunch to take him seriously. Yesterday, he had open heart surgery. Quadruple bypass. They cracked his chest open and rebuilt his heart. He almost died twice on the table. While the surgeons were literally holding his heart in their hands, my mother was doing shots at a pool bar in Cozumel. When he called her from the cardiac ICU, barely able to speak, she told him it was just a heart attack and everyone gets them these days. She said she couldn't miss her cruise for his drama. The same woman who made him pay for that cruise. Who made him pay for everything while she contributed nothing but criticism and complaints. The same woman who has dismissed every single one of his medical concerns for the past 15 years. The man in this picture raised me from the time I was 8 years old. He walked me to school every day. He taught me to drive. He helped me with my homework. He worked 2 jobs to pay for my college because his stepdaughter deserved the same opportunities as any biological child. He paid for my mother's shopping sprees, her spa days, her girls' trips, her expensive dinners out, all while brown bagging his lunch and driving a 10-year-old car because Madison's education comes first. This man has given everything to our family and asked for nothing in return except basic human decency when he was literally dying. And my mother couldn't even give him that. So here's what I want everyone to know. David Peterson is the most loving, selfless, generous man I've ever known. He deserves better. He's always deserved better. And Karen Peterson, if you're reading this from your cruise ship, I'm not your daughter anymore. You lost that right when you chose margaritas over the man who raised me. Don't bother coming to the hospital when you get back. We don't want you here. Love you, Dad. Always and forever, red heart emoji. The post had been shared thousands of times. The comments were, well, they were something. This broke my heart. Your dad sounds like an angel and your mom sounds like a demon. I hope your dad makes a full recovery and finds someone who deserves him. Karen Peterson, if you're seeing this, you're a disgrace to women everywhere. Name and shame. Karen Peterson is a terrible person. I hope this goes viral. People like this need to be exposed. And it was going viral. Fast. I stared at Madison, speechless. Honey, you didn't have to. Yes, I did. Her voice was fierce. Someone needed to tell the truth about what kind of person she really is. About what kind of person you really are. My phone started buzzing. Then it started ringing. Then it didn't stop. By Friday morning, Madison's post had over 200,000 likes. It had been shared on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Someone had screenshotted it and posted it on Reddit, where it hit the front page of r/insaneparents and r/trashy. Local news stations picked it up. Cruise ship wife, viral post exposes woman who abandoned husband during heart surgery. My phone was ringing constantly. Reporters wanting interviews. Old friends calling to check on me. Co-workers from my office, shocked and supportive. But the most interesting calls were the ones from people who knew Karen. Her sister called, crying and apologizing. David, I'm so sorry. I had no idea she was like this. When Mom had her stroke, Karen couldn't be bothered to visit because she had a pedicure appointment. I should have said something. Her book club friends were calling to distance themselves. Apparently, Karen had been bragging about the cruise while I was in surgery, actually laughing about how dramatic I was being. Her yoga instructor called to tell me that Karen had been complaining about me for years, calling me boring and pathetic. I always wondered why you stayed with someone who talked about you like that, she said. You seem like such a nice man. Even her hairdresser called. Apparently, Karen's favorite topic during appointments was how much she hated being stuck with such a loser. How she was only staying for the financial security. Each call was another nail in the coffin of our marriage. But also, strangely, liberating. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining things. This was who she really was, and now everyone knew it. Saturday afternoon, my phone rang with an international number. Karen. I let it go to voicemail. She called 17 more times in the next hour. I let them all go to voicemail. Finally, I listened to one. David. What did you tell Madison? I've been getting calls all day. Someone posted my photo on Facebook with the word "witch" written across it. The cruise director just asked me to stay in my cabin because other passengers are complaining about me. Call me back right now. I deleted it and blocked her number. She started calling Madison. Madison let the first few calls go, then answered with pure ice in her voice. What do you want, Karen? Don't you dare call me Karen. I'm your mother. No, you're not. Not anymore. Madison was calm, controlled. Mothers don't abandon their families during medical emergencies for vacation. You're destroying my life. People are calling me a monster. Are you though? A monster? Madison's voice was deadly quiet. Let's see. Your husband of 15 years had a heart attack, and instead of coming to the hospital, you went on vacation. He had open heart surgery, and instead of being by his side, you were doing shots by the pool. He could have died, and you didn't care. He's fine. He's obviously fine if he's manipulating you into posting lies about me. Dad didn't tell me to post anything. Dad doesn't even have social media. I posted the truth because I was disgusted by your behavior. Take it down. Take it down right now. No. If you don't take it down, you'll what? Abandon me? News flash, you already did that when you chose margaritas over the man who raised me. Madison hung up. The calls kept coming. From different numbers now, apparently Karen had recruited her cruise companions to help harass us. We blocked them all. By Sunday, something interesting started happening. People who knew Karen personally began reaching out, not just to support me, but to share their own stories about her behavior. Tom called to tell me that Karen's own mother had contacted him. Apparently, Karen had borrowed $10,000 from her elderly mother 6 months ago for emergency car repairs and used it for clothes and spa treatments instead. Her mother had been too embarrassed to tell me. Lisa discovered that Karen had been telling people at her gym that I was emotionally abusive and that she was planning to leave me once Madison graduated college. She'd been setting up a narrative for months. Madison's investigation was the most thorough. Nursing students, it turns out, are very good at research. She'd gone through Karen's social media history, her financial records, I'd given her access to help with my recovery, her communications. What she found was damning. Karen had been having an emotional affair with her personal trainer for 8 months. Nothing physical, but they were texting constantly, talking about their connection and how she deserved better than being married to someone so boring and needy. She'd been stealing from our joint accounts. Small amounts, but consistently. Money that was supposed to go to Madison's college fund had been redirected to Karen's personal account. She'd been lying about her whereabouts constantly. Those book club meetings? Half of them were trips to expensive spas that I was unknowingly paying for. Madison presented all of this to me like a prosecutor laying out evidence. Dad, she's been planning to leave you for months. She was just waiting for the right moment to maximize her settlement. Karen's cruise ended on Monday. She flew back Tuesday morning and came straight to the hospital. I was sitting up in bed, finally off most of the monitors, when she stormed into my room like a hurricane. David. We need to talk. She looked terrible. Her cruise tan couldn't hide the stress lines around her eyes. Her hair was a mess. She was wearing a wrinkled sundress that screamed emergency packing. Hello, Karen. Don't you hello Karen me. Do you have any idea what you've done to me? I didn't do anything to you. You turned my own daughter against me. I didn't turn Madison against you. Your behavior did that. She started crying then. Big, dramatic sobs that I'd seen her use to manipulate me 1,000 times before. But now, instead of feeling guilty and rushing to comfort her, I felt nothing. David, please. You have to understand. I was scared. When people are scared, they don't always react the right way. I should have come to the hospital immediately. You weren't scared, Karen. You were annoyed. That's not true. You called my heart attack drama. You said everyone gets them these days. You told me to have the nurses call you if I actually flatlined, and then you laughed about it with your friends. Her face crumpled. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? She couldn't answer that. Karen, I've been lying here for a week, thinking about our marriage. About the last 15 years. About how you've treated me, how you've spoken about me to other people, how you've prioritized everything and everyone above me. That's not true. Your hairdresser called me. Your yoga instructor. Your sister. Even your mother. They all had stories, Karen. Stories about how you talk about me when I'm not around. The color drained from her face. David, I know about the trainer. I know about the money. I know about all of it. She sat down heavily in the chair beside my bed. The fight went out of her like air from a punctured balloon. What do you want me to say? I don't want you to say anything. I want you to leave. David, please. We can work through this. I'll change. I'll be better. I looked at her, really looked at her, maybe for the first time in years. And all I felt was tired. Karen, if I had died on that operating table, you would have inherited everything. The house, my life insurance, my retirement accounts. You would have been set for life. She started to protest, but I held up my hand. If Madison hadn't been here, if my brother hadn't come down from Portland, I would have gone through the scariest experience of my life completely alone while my wife was doing shots by a pool. Tears were running down her cheeks now, but they looked different. Real, for once. I would have died believing that the person I loved most in the world couldn't be bothered to care whether I lived or died. David. But I didn't die. And now I know exactly who you are. And who I am. And who I want to be going forward. I reached for the bedside table and pulled out the papers my lawyer had dropped off that morning. These are divorce papers, Karen. I'm filing for divorce. She stared at the documents like they were written in a foreign language. But your heart. You can't handle the stress of a divorce right now. I almost laughed. Almost. Karen, being married to you is what gave me the heart attack. Divorcing you is the best thing I can do for my health. Karen tried everything over the next few weeks. Tears, anger, bargaining, threats. She hired a lawyer who tried to argue that I was mentally compromised due to my heart surgery and couldn't make rational decisions about divorce. That backfired spectacularly when Madison testified about her mother's behavior and provided documentation of the financial discrepancies and the emotional affair. The media attention died down eventually, but not before Karen had to change her name on social media and move in with her sister because neighbors kept recognizing her as that cruise ship wife. Madison finished nursing school with honors and got a job at the cardiac unit of the same hospital where I had my surgery. She said she wanted to take care of people the way the nurses had taken care of me. I went to cardiac rehabilitation and learned to take care of my new heart. The physical therapist there told me that patients with strong support systems recover faster and have better long-term outcomes. For the first time in 15 years, I had a strong support system. It's been 6 months since my heart attack. The divorce was finalized last month. Karen got half of our assets, as required by law, but nothing more. No alimony, no ongoing support. Her lawyer had argued for spousal support, but the judge wasn't impressed by her behavior during my medical crisis. I sold our house, too many bad memories, and bought a smaller place closer to Madison. She comes over for dinner twice a week and we watch old movies and talk about her work at the hospital. My recovery has been remarkable, according to Dr. Martinez. My new arteries are functioning perfectly. My heart is stronger than it's been in years. You seem like a different person, he told me at my last appointment. Whatever changes you've made in your life, keep making them. I joined a support group for heart attack survivors. Started going to the gym with a trainer who specializes in cardiac patients. Learned to cook healthy meals instead of ordering takeout every night to avoid dealing with Karen's complaints about having to cook. I even started dating. Nothing serious yet, but I've gone out with 2 different women, a librarian and a teacher, who both treated me with basic human kindness and respect. It was startling, at first, to be with someone who actually listened when I spoke and seemed genuinely interested in my well-being. People ask me sometimes if I regret Madison's social media post. If I wish she hadn't aired our dirty laundry so publicly. The answer is no. Absolutely not. That post didn't just expose Karen's true character, it exposed mine too. It showed me that I was worth defending. That my life had value. That the way I'd been treated wasn't normal or acceptable. It also connected me with hundreds of people who had similar experiences. Men and women who had been in relationships with narcissistic partners. People who had given everything and received nothing in return. People who thought they were crazy or overreacting when their partners dismissed their needs. I got letters from strangers telling me I deserved better. Cards from people wishing me well. Messages from other heart attack survivors who said my story gave them hope. For 15 years, I believed I was lucky to have Karen. That I should be grateful she stayed with boring, ordinary me. That her complaints and criticisms were justified because I wasn't exciting or successful enough to deserve better treatment. But lying in that hospital bed, facing my own mortality, I finally understood the truth. Karen was lucky to have me. And when she threw that gift away for a week of vacation drinks, she lost something precious and irreplaceable. I didn't plan any elaborate revenge. I didn't scheme or manipulate or plot. I just told the truth. Through Madison's post, the world saw exactly who Karen was and exactly who I was. And that turned out to be the most devastating revenge of all. The funny thing about revenge is that the best kind isn't really revenge at all. It's justice. It's truth-telling. It's refusing to keep secrets that protect people who don't deserve protection. For 15 years, I kept Karen's secrets. I made excuses for her behavior. I downplayed her cruelty to protect her reputation. I absorbed her verbal abuse in private so she could maintain her public image as a loving wife. When Madison posted that story, she didn't lie about anything. She didn't exaggerate or embellish. She just told the truth about what kind of person chooses margaritas over their spouse's heart surgery. The consequences Karen faced weren't punishment I inflicted, they were the natural result of her own choices becoming public knowledge. That's the thing about people like Karen. They rely on their victims' silence. They count on shame and social expectations to keep their behavior hidden. They manipulate and abuse in private while presenting a perfect facade to the world. But when that facade crumbles, when people see who they really are, the shock and disgust is overwhelming. Because most people, even people with their own flaws and problems, wouldn't abandon their spouse during a medical emergency for a vacation. Most people have a baseline level of human decency that makes Karen's behavior incomprehensible to them. Karen still calls sometimes. Always from new numbers, always blocked immediately. But Madison screens them for me and occasionally lets me know what she's saying. Apparently, she's seeing a therapist now who has convinced her that she was the victim in our marriage. That I was financially controlling and emotionally manipulative. That she had every right to take that cruise because she needed self-care. She's dating the personal trainer now. Madison saw them at a restaurant last week. She was treating him the same way she used to treat you, Dad. Criticizing his order, correcting him when he talked to the waitress, making these little cutting comments disguised as jokes. I felt sorry for him, briefly. But then I remembered that he was the one Karen was having an emotional affair with while I was working myself into a heart attack to pay for her lifestyle. They deserve each other. My new house has a garden. I'd always wanted to grow vegetables, but Karen said it would make the yard look trashy. Now I have tomatoes and peppers and herbs growing in neat raised beds that I built myself. I have a dog now too, a golden retriever named Buddy that Madison helped me pick out from the rescue shelter. Karen was allergic to dogs, or claimed to be. Funny how her allergies disappeared whenever we visited someone else's pets. I joined a book club at the local library. Read more books in the past 6 months than I had in the previous 5 years. Karen always criticized my book choices, said I only liked boring things. I started taking piano lessons. Something I'd wanted to do since I was a kid but never had the time or money for because every spare dollar went to Karen's wants and needs. I volunteer at the hospital now, visiting heart patients who don't have family support. Madison suggested it, and it's been incredibly fulfilling. There's something powerful about being able to tell someone facing their first heart attack, I've been where you are, and it gets better. Most of them have loving family members by their sides. But occasionally, I meet someone whose spouse is too busy or can't handle hospitals or doesn't think it's that serious. Those are the conversations that matter most. Here's what I learned from almost dying: life is too short to spend it with people who don't love you. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Karen showed me who she was the day she chose a cruise over my heart surgery. Actually, she'd been showing me for years, but I was too invested in the fantasy of our marriage to see it clearly. The heart attack was a gift, in a way. It gave me clarity. It forced me to confront the truth about my life and my relationship. It showed me what really mattered and who really cared. Madison matters. My brother Tom and sister-in-law Lisa matter. My new friends at the book club matter. The other heart attack survivors in my support group matter. Buddy the dog matters. People who show up when you need them matter. People who abandon you when you're dying don't matter, no matter how many years you've invested in them. I know this story started with rage and revenge, but that's not how it ends. It ends with peace. With gratitude. With a second chance at life that I'm not going to waste. I'm 48 years old and I feel younger now than I did at 30. My heart is literally and figuratively stronger. I wake up every morning excited about the day ahead instead of dreading whatever criticism or drama awaits me. Madison is thriving in her nursing career and her personal life. She's dating a nice young man from her program who treats her with respect and kindness. She's learned from watching her mother what love isn't supposed to look like. And me? I'm learning what love is supposed to look like. What it feels like to be valued and appreciated instead of tolerated and criticized. Karen got her comeuppance through social media shame and public exposure. But my real victory isn't her downfall, it's my rise. It's building a life worth living with people who actually want to be part of it. The heart attack almost killed me. But in a way, it saved me. And that's a kind of revenge story I can live with. Update, as I'm finishing this post, Madison just texted me a screenshot. Karen's post from today, living my best life with my amazing new boyfriend. Some people are just meant to drag you down, but when you cut toxic people out of your life, you can finally soar. #blessed, #new beginnings, #self-care. The post has 3 likes. 2 from her sister and 1 from the personal trainer. Madison's response in our text thread: Dad, she has 47 followers left. Down from 2,400 before my post. Even her book club friends unfollowed her. The only people still following her are you, because you forgot to unfollow me, for entertainment purposes, her sister, the trainer, and a bunch of bot accounts selling weight loss supplements. I laughed so hard I had to check my heart rate on my fitness watch. All good. That's the thing about consequences, they're not always immediate, but they're always fair. If there's one thing I want people to take away from this story, it's this: you teach people how to treat you. For 15 years, I taught Karen that she could treat me poorly without consequences. I absorbed her cruelty, made excuses for her behavior, and prioritized her comfort over my own well-being. I thought I was being a good husband. I thought I was showing love through sacrifice and tolerance. But what I was actually doing was enabling someone to slowly destroy my sense of self-worth and, ultimately, my health. When Madison posted that story, she wasn't just defending me, she was teaching everyone in Karen's life that her behavior was unacceptable. She was setting a boundary that I'd never been strong enough to set myself. Sometimes it takes someone who loves you to show you what love actually looks like. And what it doesn't. The follow-up: 6 months later, I can say with certainty that leaving Karen was the best decision I ever made. My cardiologist says my stress levels have improved dramatically. My blood pressure is normal for the first time in years. I'm sleeping better, eating better, and genuinely enjoying life. I've started traveling, something Karen always said was a waste of money. I went to Ireland last month and hiked through the countryside, visited ancient castles, talked with locals in cozy pubs. Madison came with me for part of the trip, and we made memories I'll treasure forever. I'm taking a cooking class where I met Sarah, a widow who lost her husband to cancer 3 years ago. We've been on several dates, and she's nothing like Karen. She listens when I talk. She asks about my day and actually wants to hear the answer. She brings me soup when I have a cold and doesn't make it about how inconvenient my illness is for her. When I told her about my heart attack and divorce, she held my hand and said, "I'm so sorry you went through that alone. No one should have to face something so scary without support." It was such a simple response, but it made me realize how abnormal Karen's reaction had been. Most people understand that when someone you love is in medical crisis, you show up. Period. Madison tells me that my story has had an unexpected impact in her nursing program and at the hospital. She says other healthcare workers have started sharing their own stories about patients whose families failed them during medical emergencies. There are more people like Karen out there than I realized, Dad. But there are also more people like you. Good people who deserve better but don't know how to ask for it. She started a support group at the hospital for patients dealing with family abandonment during illness. It's called Hearts for Hearts and it's growing every week. Dr. Martinez mentioned it during my last appointment. Your daughter is making a real difference. We've had several patients whose families weren't supportive. And having that group has been incredibly healing for them. I'm proud of Madison, but I'm not surprised. She learned empathy and compassion by watching how I cared for her growing up. But she also learned strength and boundaries by watching what happened when someone lacked those qualities. Karen's lawyer tried one last desperate move before the divorce was finalized. He argued that my public humiliation of Karen constituted emotional abuse and that she deserved a larger settlement as compensation. My lawyer's response was brilliant: "Your Honor, my client didn't publicly humiliate anyone. His daughter told the truth about her mother's behavior during a medical emergency. If Mrs. Peterson finds the truth humiliating, perhaps she should reflect on her choices rather than blame the people who reported them." The judge agreed. Karen got exactly what the law required and nothing more. Her lawyer also tried to get a gag order preventing Madison from posting about Karen on social media. That failed too, since Madison's original post contained only factual information. The truth, my lawyer explained, is an absolute defense against claims of defamation. Karen's final attempt was to sue Madison directly for intentional infliction of emotional distress. That case was dismissed so quickly it barely made it to court. As the judge noted, the defendant's emotional distress appears to stem from the natural consequences of her own documented behavior becoming public knowledge. This court will not provide legal protection for someone seeking to avoid accountability for their actions. I've been seeing a therapist since my recovery, Dr. Elizabeth Chen, who specializes in trauma and relationship dynamics. She's helped me understand what happened in my marriage and why I tolerated Karen's behavior for so long. "You're what we call a trauma-bonded victim," she explained. "You were conditioned to believe that love requires sacrifice, that your needs don't matter, and that other people's emotions are your responsibility to manage." She helped me see that Karen displayed classic narcissistic traits: lack of empathy, sense of entitlement, need for constant admiration, inability to take responsibility for her actions. Narcissists often choose partners who are empathetic and giving because those people will tolerate treatment that others wouldn't. They exploit your kindness and then blame you for making them treat you poorly. The therapy sessions have been eye-opening. I'm learning to recognize red flags I missed before. I'm practicing setting boundaries and prioritizing my own needs without feeling guilty. Most importantly, I'm understanding that Karen's treatment of me was never about my inadequacies, it was about hers. The medical update. My 1-year cardiac checkup is next month, but Dr. Martinez says all my indicators are excellent. My new arteries are functioning perfectly, my heart muscle has healed completely, and my overall cardiovascular health is better than it's been in decades. Stress is one of the biggest risk factors for heart disease, he reminded me. Removing chronic stress from your life, even stress you've become accustomed to, can have dramatic positive effects on your physical health. I'm off most of my medications now. My blood pressure is normal without medication for the first time in years. I've lost 30 pounds just from not stress eating and actually enjoying physical activity again. "You look 10 years younger," Lisa told me at Tom's birthday party last weekend. "I forgot what you looked like when you were happy." That hit me hard. I'd forgotten too. The Karen update. Through Madison, I hear occasional updates about Karen's new life. They're not encouraging. The relationship with the personal trainer ended after 3 months. Apparently, he got tired of her constant criticism and financial demands. He told Madison's friend, who goes to the same gym, that Karen was exhausting and never happy with anything. She's moved 4 times since our divorce, unable to afford rent on the nicer places she prefers and unwilling to accept housing that meets her budget. Her sister finally set boundaries and told her she couldn't stay there indefinitely. She's been through 3 jobs in 6 months. Always the employer's fault, according to her social media posts. Toxic work environment. Incompetent management. Jealous coworkers. The pattern is clear to everyone except Karen. Madison says she seems bitter and angry all the time now. She keeps posting these passive-aggressive quotes about ungrateful children and men who can't handle strong women. It's like she learned nothing. I feel sad for her, honestly. Not sad enough to take her back or engage with her drama, but sad that someone could be so incapable of self-reflection and growth. Sarah and I have been dating for 3 months now, and it's unlike anything I experienced with Karen. She's kind without being a pushover, independent without being selfish, and caring without being manipulative. When I had a minor procedure last month, just routine cardiac maintenance, she took the day off work to drive me to and from the hospital. She brought a book to read while she waited, packed snacks for both of us, and held my hand during the pre-procedure anxiety. "This is what partners do," she said simply when I tried to thank her. "We take care of each other." Such a basic concept, but it felt revolutionary after 15 years with Karen. Sarah has met Madison several times now, and they genuinely like each other. Madison told me, she asks questions about my work because she's actually interested, not because she's looking for something to criticize. "And Dad, she looks at you like you're something precious." We're taking things slowly, both of us have been through trauma and loss. But for the first time in my adult life, I'm in a relationship where I feel valued and appreciated just for being myself. The most satisfying part of this whole experience isn't Karen's downfall, it's my rise. It's discovering that I'm actually interesting, funny, and capable when I'm not being constantly told otherwise. It's building friendships with people who enjoy my company and seek out my opinions. It's learning that the problem was never me. At Tom's birthday party, his neighbor Jim pulled me aside. "I have to tell you something, David. My wife and I always felt sorry for you when you came to gatherings with Karen. She was so mean to you, and you always looked miserable. We wanted to say something but didn't know how." "You weren't imagining it," I told him. "It was as bad as it looked." "Well, you look like a completely different person now. Happy. Confident. Like yourself again. Like yourself again." I didn't even realize I'd lost myself until I found myself again. As strange as it sounds, I'm grateful for my heart attack. Not grateful that it happened, but grateful for what it taught me. Grateful that it gave me the clarity to see my life for what it really was. I'm grateful for Madison's courage in posting that story. She could have stayed quiet, kept the peace, avoided the drama. Instead, she chose to stand up for what was right, even when it was difficult. I'm grateful for the medical team that saved my life and the rehabilitation team that helped me rebuild it. I'm grateful for my brother Tom and sister-in-law Lisa, who dropped everything to support me and never once said "I told you so" about Karen. I'm grateful for my new friends, my new hobbies, my new relationship, and my new perspective on what life can be when you're not constantly walking on eggshells. Most of all, I'm grateful that I survived to see 48, because everything good in my life has happened since then. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself in my story, if you're with someone who dismisses your concerns, criticizes you constantly, or treats your needs as inconvenient, please know that you deserve better. You don't have to wait for a heart attack to make changes. You don't have to wait for them to leave you. You don't have to wait for permission to prioritize your own well-being. Life is precious and short and beautiful, and you deserve to spend it with people who cherish you, not people who merely tolerate you. It's never too late to start over. It's never too late to choose yourself. I'm writing this final update from my garden, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink while Buddy snores at my feet. Madison is coming for dinner tomorrow, and Sarah is joining us. We're going to cook together, laugh together, and enjoy each other's company without anyone being criticized, dismissed, or made to feel small. This is what happiness looks like. This is what love looks like. This is what I almost died never knowing I deserved. Karen chose margaritas over marriage, vacation over vows, selfishness over support. And in doing so, she set me free. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well. Final update, Karen tried to friend request me on Facebook today. I declined and immediately blocked her on all platforms. Some doors, once closed, should stay that way. Madison's text response, iconic behavior, Dad. Stay strong, smiley face emoji. Life is good. Something I never expected came out of this whole experience, reconnecting with my college roommate, Marcus. He reached out after seeing Madison's post shared in our university alumni group. "Dude, I had no idea you were going through all that," he wrote. "I always wondered why you stopped coming to reunions after you got married." That hit me like a lightning bolt. I had stopped going to reunions. Karen always had some excuse: they were boring, the people were pretentious, or she had something more important planned that weekend. I'd gradually lost touch with old friends, college buddies, even work colleagues who used to invite me to social events. Marcus reminded me of something I'd completely forgotten: I used to be social. In college, I was the guy who organized group trips, hosted poker nights, remembered everyone's birthdays. People actually sought out my company. "You were the glue that held our friend group together," Marcus said when we met for coffee last week. "When you disappeared, the whole dynamic fell apart." It turns out Karen hadn't just isolated me from my friends, she'd robbed them of someone they genuinely missed. Marcus has been slowly reconnecting me with our old crowd, and the response has been overwhelming. "We all assumed you'd just outgrown us," said Jenny, who used to live down the hall. Karen always seemed so intense when she came to group events. Like she was judging all of us and finding us lacking. These conversations have been revelatory. I'm remembering parts of myself that I'd forgotten existed. Dr. Chen suggested I consider sharing my story in educational settings, particularly with medical students and social workers who might encounter similar situations. Last month, I spoke to a class of nursing students at Madison School. The professor had invited me to discuss family dynamics during medical crises as part of their patient advocacy training. The students were riveted. One young man raised his hand afterward. "Sir, how do we help patients who might be in situations like yours? How do we recognize when someone's family isn't actually supportive?" It was a brilliant question that led to a rich discussion about red flags healthcare workers should watch for: family members who seem annoyed by the patient's needs, who minimize serious conditions, who prioritize their own convenience over the patient's well-being. Trust your instincts, I told them. If something feels off about a family dynamic, it probably is. And remember that sometimes the person who seems fine on the surface is the one who needs the most support. The professor asked me to come back next semester. Apparently, my talk has become legendary among the students. They call it the cruise ship story and use it as a reference point for understanding emotional abuse in relationships. Madison told me something fascinating last week. 3 women in her hospital unit have left abusive relationships in the past 6 months, and all of them cited my story as a wake-up call. They kept saying, "If that man's wife could abandon him during heart surgery, what does that say about how my partner treats me during smaller crises?" Madison explained. It's like your experience gave them permission to examine their own relationships more critically. One of them, a respiratory therapist named Angela, approached Madison directly. Her husband had been emotionally and financially abusive for years, but she'd convinced herself it was normal marriage stress. When she heard about Karen's behavior during my medical emergency, something clicked. She realized that when she had pneumonia last year, her husband complained constantly about having to take care of their kids and made her feel guilty for being sick, Madison said. She left him 2 weeks later. The idea that my pain could somehow prevent others from enduring similar suffering gives this whole experience a deeper meaning I never expected. Recovery isn't just about the big moments, it's about the accumulation of small victories that rebuild your sense of self. Yesterday, I bought myself an expensive coffee without feeling guilty about wasting money. Last weekend, I watched 3 movies in a row without anyone commenting on my lazy behavior. I've started wearing colors again instead of the bland neutrals Karen preferred. I joined a hiking group where nobody knows my history or feels sorry for me. They just know me as Dave, the guy who brings good trail mix and knows interesting facts about local wildlife. Sarah and I went dancing last Friday, something I haven't done in 20 years because Karen said I was embarrassing on the dance floor. Turns out I'm not embarrassing at all. I'm just rusty. And Sarah thinks my enthusiasm more than makes up for my lack of technical skill. These might seem like trivial things, but they represent something profound. The reclamation of a personality that was slowly suffocated over 15 years. Here's what I wish I could tell my younger self, the man who first started dating Karen all those years ago. Pay attention to how someone treats you when you're vulnerable. Notice whether they build you up or tear you down. Watch how they react to your successes and your struggles. Most importantly, trust that voice in your head that says this isn't right. That voice isn't being dramatic or oversensitive. It's trying to protect you from people who would drain the life out of you drop by drop until you're too weak to save yourself. Karen didn't change into someone cruel. She was always cruel. I just gradually accepted lower and lower standards of treatment until her abandonment during my medical crisis seemed like just another Tuesday. But hearts, both literal and metaphorical, are more resilient than we think. With the right care, the right support, and the right environment, they can heal stronger than before. Mine certainly has.
More AI? Follow Saga Twist. The twist is just beginning.